It was a grey morning in Dublin when Dr. Elena Moreau found out her life was about to change completely. A well-known neuroscientist specializing in brainwaves and thinking, she had spent the last 15 years studying the mysteries of the human brain at the respected Trinity College Neurosciences Institute. But on that particular Tuesday, while looking at data from her latest sleep experiments, something amazing caught her eye on the pulsing charts on her screen. The numbers were clear. Her patients who had been exposed to specific sound frequencies while sleeping showed completely different brain patterns from the control group. The delta waves, the slow brain waves between 3 and 4G that are typical of deep restorative sleep, were not only more common in the brains exposed to the therapeutic frequencies, but they also showed a consistency and strength that Elena had never seen in all her years of research. "This is impossible," she whispered to herself, adjusting her thin-framed glasses as she zoomed in on the data. But there it was, undeniable. Patients who had listened to music at 432 Hz during the night not only slept more deeply, but also woke up with much lower cortisol levels and reported feeling good all day long. Elena leaned back in her ergonomic chair, feeling the importance of her discovery. She had always been skeptical of the pseudoscientific claims about healing frequencies found all over the internet. As a strict scientist, she dismissed anything that couldn't be measured, tested, and repeated in a lab. But here, right before her eyes, was solid proof that certain sound frequencies had real and powerful effects on the human brain. Her mind went back 6 months to when it all started. She had received an unexpected email from an old professor, Dr. Thomas Chun, an acoustic physicist working in Vienna. Thomas mentioned old, obscure studies from the 1970s about the 432 Hz frequency, claiming it was mathematically in sync with the universe, in ways the modern standard of 440 Hz was not. "Elena," he had written, "I know this sounds like New Age mysticism, but the numbers don't lie. There's something here that deserves serious scientific investigation." At first, Elena had filed the email away as just another one of Thomas's odd ideas, but her scientific curiosity eventually won. She designed a strict double-blind experiment. 50 patients with chronic insomnia were split into groups. Some listened to music at 432 Hz, others at 440 Hz, and the control group heard only silence. No one, not the patients or the technicians running the study, knew who was in which group. For 8 weeks, Elena and her team monitored brain scans, hormone levels, reported sleep quality, and even inflammation markers in the blood. The results were, to use a technical term she rarely used, astonishing. The 432 Hz group not only slept better, but also showed improvements in almost every health marker measured. Their blood pressure went down. Their anxiety levels, measured by both standard questionnaire and chemical markers, dropped dramatically. Even more interesting, inflammation markers like C-reactive protein showed significant reductions, suggesting the frequency was somehow affecting deep biological processes in the body. Elena looked out her office window at the light rain, typical for Dublin at that time of year. The trees on campus swayed gently in the wind, and she wondered if nature had always known something that modern science was just starting to rediscover. After all of nature operated on specific frequencies from the Earth's own resonance, known as the Schumann resonance, which is around 7.83 Hz, to the molecular vibrations that hold matter together. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Marcus, her research assistant, with news about the 528 Hz frequency experiments they had started last month. "Dr. Moreau," he said, his voice full of excitement, "you need to see this. The early results from the 528 Hz group are beyond anything we expected. Patients with anxiety disorder are reporting symptom reductions that are as good as the best anti-anxiety drugs, but with none of the side effects." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The 528 Hz frequency was often called the love frequency or DNA healing frequency. In alternative medicine circles, claims that had always seemed exaggerated and baseless to her. But if Marcus's data was correct, maybe there was more truth to these old traditions than modern science had admitted. "I'll be there in 5 minutes," she replied, already gathering her things. As she walked through the Institute's hallways, her mind was buzzing with possibilities. If specific frequencies really had the power to influence biological processes so deeply, the implications were revolutionary. This could completely change sleep medicine, the treatment of anxiety and depression, and maybe even approaches to more serious conditions. But Elena also knew she was on dangerous ground. The history of science was full of promising discoveries that didn't hold up under strict review, and the field of healing frequencies was especially full of scams and pseudoscience. She would have to be extremely careful, precise in her methods, and perfect in her data analysis. Any mistake and her scientific reputation would be ruined. Arriving at the lab, she found Marcus in front of a wall of monitors, his eyes fixed on the brainwave patterns dancing on the screens. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a specific chart. "This is patient 23, a 42-year-old woman with severe generalized anxiety disorder for 15 years. After just 3 weeks of listening to music at 528 Hz during guided meditation, her alpha waves, the ones associated with a state of alert relaxation, increased by 40%. 40%, Elena?" Elena moved closer, examining the data with a scientist's critical eye. The patterns were undeniable. Not only had the alpha waves increased, but there was also a connection between the two halves of the brain that she rarely saw outside of experienced meditators. It was as if the 528 Hz frequency was literally syncing the two hemispheres of the brain, creating a state of neural harmony that resulted in deep psychological well-being. "We need to replicate this," Elena said finally. "I want a study with at least 200 participants, strict controls, and a blind analysis of the data. If this holds up ... double quotes, she paused, allowing herself a rare moment of scientific excitement. "Marcus, this could change everything." 3 months later, Elena's lab was a whirlwind of activity. What began as a quiet experiment had exploded, consuming the Institute's resources and drawing global attention. Emails flooded in daily from researchers worldwide. Some offered collaboration, others voiced skepticism, and a few claimed to have found similar effects in their own labs. Elena now led a team of 17 researchers, each tackling a different facet of what she called therapeutic neurosonics. This term was her attempt to give scientific legitimacy to this new field. They were systematically studying not just the initial 432 and 528 Hz frequencies, but the entire ancient scale of solfeggio frequencies. These tones, according to historical records, were central to medieval Gregorian chants, believed to hold spiritual and healing powers. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a Japanese biophysicist who had recently joined the team, was captivated by the 174 Hz frequency. On a rainy April afternoon, he approached Elena. "Dr. Moreau," he began, "the results with 174 Hz are remarkable. Patients with chronic pain are reporting reductions we can't explain through any conventional pain control mechanism." Elena followed him to the analysis room. The walls were covered in complex charts, mapping neural responses to various frequencies. "Show me," she said, her scientific curiosity ignited. Yuki zoomed in on the data of Maria Santos, a 58-year-old woman who had suffered from fibromyalgia for 2 decades. Maria had 30-minute sessions of pure 174 Hz tones 3 times a week for 6 weeks. Look at her substance P levels before and after. Substance P is a key neurotransmitter in pain perception. Her levels dropped by 35%. But here is the most amazing part. Her functional MRI shows changes in the activity of her anterior insula and anterior cingulate cortex, the brain as pain processing centers. It's like the frequency is literally reconfiguring how her brain processes pain. Elena was silent, absorbing the massive implications. This suggests it's not just masking the pain or a placebo effect. The frequencies are actually modifying neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself. Exactly, Yuki agreed. And it's not limited to 174 Hz. Each solfeggio frequency seems to have a unique affinity for specific neural systems. He pulled up another dataset. The 285 Hz frequency, for instance, shows fascinating effects on cell regeneration. We cultured epithelial cells and exposed them to this frequency. The cells didn't just multiply faster. They showed fewer signs of oxidative stress and a greater expression of genes linked to DNA repair. Elena felt that familiar thrill of discovery. Are you telling me that a sound frequency is influencing gene expression? The data strongly suggests it, Yuki replied cautiously. Of course, we need much more replication, more controls. But the mechanism seems to involve cymatics. How sound vibrations create physical patterns in a medium. Our cells are physical structures floating in liquid. When you apply a specific frequency, you create resonance patterns that can directly influence cellular processes. Just then, Sarah O'Connor, a clinical psychologist on the team, hurried in, laptop in hand. Elena, you have to see the results from the 396 Hz study. They are. Well, they're disturbingly good. The three gathered around her screen. Sarah had been running a study with war veterans suffering from severe post-traumatic stress disorder. The 396 Hz frequency was traditionally associated with releasing guilt and fear. Initially skeptical, Sarah had designed a rigorous test. We have 45 veterans in the study, she explained, her fingers flying across the keyboard. All with severe PTSD, with average CAPA scores of 65. Their symptoms hadn't responded to conventional therapies. We split them into two groups. Half received standard exposure therapy. The other half got the same therapy, but with added sessions where they listened to 396 Hz tones during mindfulness exercises. She paused, building the suspense. The 396 Hz group showed symptom reductions twice as large as the control group. Twice, Elena. Their scores dropped an average of 30 points in just 8 weeks. Some are reporting their first night of sleep without nightmares in years. Elena meticulously examined the data, her mind scanning for any flaw, any bias that could explain these dramatic results. But Sarah's work was impeccable. The study was randomized, double-blind where possible, and the assessments were done by clinicians who were unaware of the patient groups. How do you explain this? Elena finally asked. What's your theoretical model? Sarah leaned back. My hypothesis is that trauma is partly a state of nervous system dysregulation. The brain gets stuck in a fight or flight loop with an overactive amygdala and an underactive prefrontal cortex. These specific frequencies seem to help the nervous system exit those rigid trauma patterns and return to a more flexible, adaptive state. I call it neural retuning. But why 396 Hz specifically? Elena pressed. That's the mystery, Sarah admitted. Mathematically, 396 Hz has a harmonic relationship with delta waves, those slow brain waves associated with deep, restorative sleep. Perhaps the frequency creates a bridge between our conscious state and those deeper healing processes. Yuki interjected. There's also the issue of resonance. Different structures in our body, bones, organs, even cells, have their own natural resonance frequencies. It's possible each solfeggio frequency is perfectly tuned to resonate with specific biological systems. Elena walked to the window, watching students cross the campus below, oblivious to the revolution unfolding in her lab. She thought about the other frequencies they were testing. 417 Hz, said to facilitate change. 639 Hz, for improving relationships. 741 Hz, for emotional expression. 852 Hz, for awakening intuition. And 963 Hz, the highest on the scale, linked to spiritual connection. Each was being rigorously tested. and each was showing measurable, specific biological effects. "Do you know what's most unsettling?" Elena said, turning back to her team. Ancient cultures all over the world seem to have discovered these frequencies independently. Gregorian chants, Tibetan chants, Vedic mantras, shamanic songs. They all gravitated toward these same, specific mathematical frequencies. "It's as if," Sarah suggested, "there was an intuitive knowledge about how sound affects the body and mind. A knowledge passed down through spiritual traditions that our modern science is only now beginning to validate." "Precisely," Elena agreed, "and that raises a profound question. How much other ancient knowledge that we dismiss as superstition might actually be based on real physical phenomena that we just don't understand yet?" At that moment, Marcus entered, carrying a stack of printouts. "Sorry to interrupt, but we just got the results from the long-term 432 Hz study. We have a full 12 months of follow-up." He handed them the sheets. The reduction in blood pressure didn't just hold, it continued to improve. Hypertensive patients who listened to 432 Hz music for 30 minutes, day for a year, now have blood pressure readings that take them out of the hypertension range. Elena stared at the numbers. Her mind raced, calculating the public health implications. Hypertension affects billions, leading to heart disease, strokes, and premature death. What if an intervention as simple and safe as listening to music could significantly reduce it? "We need to publish," she said, her voice firm with decision. "We can't keep this in our lab anymore. The world needs to know. You know we'll face immense skepticism," Yuki warned. "The scientific community will be hostile to anything that smells like alternative medicine. And our data will have to be irrefutable," Elena replied, her eyes filled with determination. "Replication in multiple labs, large sample sizes, impeccable methodology. We will show the world that this is not pseudoscience. This is physics. It's biology. It's real neuroscience." Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time. 6 months after Elena's team published their findings in the world's top scientific journals, the neuroscience community was split right down the middle. Their main article in Nature Neuroscience, titled "Neurophysiological Effects of Specific Sound, Frequencies on Sleep Architecture and Autonomic Regulation," had kicked up a storm like no one had ever seen. A prominent American neuroscientist from Stanford, Dr. Richard Blackwell, a well-known skeptic of anything related to complementary medicine, immediately published a scathing response. He questioned Elena's entire methodology, suggesting biases, placebo effects, and even selection bias in her participants. Then, one October afternoon, Elena got a call. It was Dr. Blackwell himself, requesting a public debate at the annual Society for Neuroscience conference in Chicago. Elena accepted on the spot. She knew that extraordinary claims required extraordinary evidence, and she was ready to defend her life's work. The debate took place in a massive auditorium, packed with over 1,000 neuroscientists, doctors, and researchers. You could feel the tension in the air as Elena and Blackwell took the stage. The moderator laid out the rules, 20 minutes each for a presentation, followed by rebuttals and audience questions. Blackwell went first. He was sharp, meticulous, and he attacked what he saw as the core flaw. He argued that sound is just vibrations in the air. The idea that one frequency, like 432 Hz, could have a special healing property that 440 Hz doesn't, he claimed, violates the basic principles of physics and biology. He stated that the human ear processes all frequencies in the same way, so there was no plausible mechanism for these effects. When it was Elena's turn, she didn't start with data. She started with a demonstration. She calmly agreed with Blackwell that the ear converts sound into neural impulses, but added, "That is not the whole story." She then played a video of cymatics experiments, sand on a vibrating metal plate. As the frequency changed, The sand grains, which had been in chaos, snapped into perfect, beautiful geometric patterns at specific frequencies. This is basic physics, Elena explained. Different frequencies create different resonance patterns in physical systems. She let that sink in. Now, consider that the human body is 60% water. Our cells exist in a liquid medium. Resonance doesn't even require hearing deaf people still feel vibrations through their bodies. Her point was clear. The question wasn't asterisk. If asterisk, different frequencies have different physical effects. Physics proves they do. The real question is what specific asterisk biological asterisk effects do these physical differences produce? Then, she unveiled her latest data. Replication studies from independent labs in Germany, Japan, Brazil, and Australia, all confirming her original findings. She showed functional MRI images, revealing different brain regions activating in response to different frequencies. She presented cellular studies showing measurable changes in gene expression. And most powerfully, she showed data from a study on comatose patients. In these patients, conscious awareness and placebo effects were impossible, yet their brainwave patterns still changed in response to the specific frequencies. Dr. Blackwell suggests there's no plausible mechanism, Elena said, her voice rising with confidence. But I argue there are multiple plausible mechanisms. She listed them off: mechanical resonance of biological structures, neural entrainment, where the brain syncs to external rhythms, modulation of the autonomic nervous system via the vagus nerve, and even direct effects on gene expression. The audience was captivated. Elena's closing was a powerful call to action. I am not asking you to believe in mysticism. I am asking you to look at the data with the open mind of true scientists. I am asking you to consider the perhaps ancient traditions empirically discovered phenomena that our modern science is only just beginning to understand. The debate that followed was intense but respectful. A neuroscientist from Nigeria, Dr. Amara Okonkwo, stood up and noted that across Africa, specific chants and rhythms have been used therapeutically for thousands of years. She argued that Elena's work could be a crucial bridge between ancient wisdom and modern science. By the end, the conversation had shifted. It was no longer about, is this possible? But how does this work? Researchers swarmed Elena afterward, eager to collaborate, but not all the attention was positive. That night, she received a threatening email. Stop your research now, or face the consequences. She reported it, but a feeling of unease lingered. Back in Dublin, Elena held an emergency team meeting. We're attracting a lot of attention, she said. Pharmaceutical companies are offering massive funding, but with strings attached. They want exclusive rights to any therapies we develop. Marcus, her senior researcher, immediately pushed back. That's wrong. If these frequencies can heal, they should be accessible to everyone, not patented and sold for profit. Elena agreed completely, but they needed funding. The Institute was getting nervous about the controversy. That's when Yuki, her quietest team member, spoke up. We need to think bigger. This is about more than just music therapy. We're uncovering fundamental principles about how vibration influences life. This could revolutionize medicine, architecture, even urban planning. The idea was huge, almost scary, but it felt right. Marcus suggested they create a dedicated institute, free from corporate agendas. Elena's vision crystallized. A global research center dedicated to the therapeutic principles of sound and vibration. A place where science and ancient wisdom could meet. Let's do it, she said, her voice firm. We will create the International Institute of Therapeutic Neurosonics. And we'll do it open source all our knowledge, freely available for the good of all. That night, alone in her apartment, Elena put on headphones and played a sequence of the ancient solfeggio frequencies. As the sounds washed over her, she felt something profound. 174 hertz felt grounding. 396 hertz seemed to release hidden tensions. 528 hertz filled her with a sense of universal love. 963 hertz connected her to something vast and wordless. It wasn't data she could publish. It was personal, experiential. But it reinforced her belief that science isn't just about measuring things. It's about asking the deepest questions and having the courage to follow the evidence, no matter where it leads. With renewed energy, she opened her laptop and began to write the proposal that would change everything, articulating a new vision for Science One that could heal the world, one frequency at a time. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what comes next. See you in the next video. Just 18 months after a flash of inspiration, the International Institute of Therapeutic Neurosonics, or IINT, opened its doors right here in the heart of Dublin, on the banks of the River Liffey. Elena's vision, born on a single night, became a stunning reality. And how did it happen? Through an amazing mix of support. A tech billionaire who cured his own chronic insomnia using Elena's methods made a huge donation. A massive crowdfunding campaign raised €3 million from 50,000 individual donors. And in a surprising move, the Irish government backed the project, seeing a chance to put Ireland at the forefront of a new scientific frontier. The building itself is a work of art, a masterpiece of acoustic design. Every single room was crafted with painstaking attention to sound. The walls can absorb or reflect specific frequencies. The speaker systems are state-of-the-art, able to produce pure tones with incredible precision, down to 0.01 hertz. There are anechoic chambers for experiments needing total silence, and special resonance rooms where the architecture itself amplifies certain frequencies. This groundbreaking institute drew brilliant minds from all over the globe. Dr. Rajesh Patel, a quantum physicist from India, came to study if quantum effects influence how frequencies affect our biology. Dr. Sofia Kowalski, a Polish doctor specializing in integrative medicine, brought her decades of clinical experience. James Whitehorse, a traditional healer from the Lakota Nation with a PhD in medical anthropology, offered indigenous perspectives on sound healing. And Dr. Ahmed Al-Rashid, an acoustic engineer from Egypt, applied his knowledge of how ancient places like the Great Pyramid create specific sound effects. At the grand opening ceremony, Elena stood before a crowd of scientists, doctors, and journalists. "Welcome to the IINT," she began. "This institute is built on a simple yet profound idea, that sound and vibration affect our health and consciousness in ways we're just starting to understand scientifically, but that human cultures have known intuitively for thousands of years." She paused, looking at the hopeful faces in the crowd. "Our goal here isn't to prove ancient knowledge right or wrong. It's to rigorously investigate real phenomena, use the best tools of modern science to understand how it works, and then use that knowledge to help people. We will be skeptical when we need to be. We will be open-minded when the evidence calls for it. And above all, we will be rigorous in our methods and honest in our reporting, even when the data surprises us." The first few months were an absolute whirlwind of activity. Studies were running all over the building. On the third floor, Sophia was leading clinical trials, testing frequency protocols for everything from depression to Parkinson's disease. On the second floor, Rajesh was exploring if specific frequencies could influence how proteins fold, which could be huge for neurodegenerative diseases. On the ground floor, James was working with musicians and traditional sound healers, documenting ancient techniques and putting them to the scientific test. Meanwhile, Ahmed was consumed by a fascinating mystery. Why did certain ancient structures seem to be built specifically to amplify certain frequencies? He traveled the world, Egypt, Peru, India, Cambodia, measuring the acoustic properties of ancient temples, pyramids, and ritual chambers. And what he found was astonishing. Many of these ancient marvels were tuned to amplify frequencies right around 110 hertz. Back at an institute meeting, Ahmad presented his data. "Look at this," he said, showing his findings. The king's chamber in the Great Pyramid, the Chavin de Hontra Temple in Peru, the Hal Saflieni Temple in Malta, they all resonate around 110 to 111 Hz. Now, look at this EEE. He displayed brainwave recordings of volunteers exposed to that same frequency. At 110 Hz, we see a clear shift from normal beta waves, our waking consciousness, to theta waves, which are associated with deep meditation and that creative state between wakefulness and sleep. Sarah, who was at the meeting, chimed in. This lines up with what we know from anthropology. These places were used for initiation rituals, for visionary experiences, for communicating with the divine. Maybe the divine they experienced was actually an altered state of consciousness, triggered by these specific frequencies. James then offered a different perspective. Or, he suggested, perhaps altered states of consciousness are exactly how humans access deeper dimensions of reality. The frequency is the technology. The experience is real. It was this kind of open dialogue, blending science and spirituality, analysis and holistic understanding, that really defined the Institute's culture. Elena had deliberately created a space where these conversations could happen without one side needing to be right. One of the most exciting breakthroughs came from Yuki's lab. He was investigating the 528 Hz frequency and its effect on DNA repair at the molecular level. Using advanced microscopy, his team actually observed that cells exposed to 528 Hz showed more activity from DNA, repair enzymes, and had less oxidative damage. It's not magic, Yuki explained carefully during a presentation. It's physics. DNA molecules have natural resonance frequencies. When you apply an external frequency that matches or harmonizes with them, you can influence molecular shapes, the speed of enzyme reactions, and even gene expression. We are essentially using sound to optimize our cellular biochemistry. But maybe the most powerful work was happening in the clinical wing, led by Sophia. She developed personalized protocols that combined multiple solfeggio frequencies with mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy. The results were incredible. One patient, David O'Brien, a 45-year-old man who'd had a stroke that left him with partial paralysis and severe depression, became a living miracle. When David first came to the Institute, he couldn't speak, was in a wheelchair, and had lost all hope. Sophia designed an intensive protocol for him. Morning sessions with 174 Hz for pain reduction, midday sessions with 528 Hz for cellular repair, afternoons with 639 Hz to rebuild neural connections for communication, and evenings with delta waves for deep, restorative sleep. And these weren't just passive listening sessions. David was actively involved, trying to speak during the 639 Hz sessions, doing physical therapy during the 174 and 285 Hz sessions. 6 months later, David was walking with a cane, speaking in full sentences, and most importantly, he was smiling, something his wife hadn't seen since before the stroke. MRI scans revealed incredible neuroplasticity, with new neural pathways forming around the damaged part of his brain. I can't say it was just the frequencies, Sophia cautioned. David also had intensive physical and speech therapy, but his progress is far beyond what we would normally expect. The frequencies seem to have accelerated and amplified his brain's ability to heal itself. Stories like David's started getting noticed by the mainstream media. The Institute was featured in a BBC documentary, in Scientific American, and even on the TV program 60 Minutes. But with all this visibility came new challenges. Medical device companies started creating products based on their research, some legitimate, but many were just opportunistic schemes. Smartphone apps promising instant healing with frequencies popped up everywhere, most with no scientific backing at all. Self-help gurus started using the language of frequencies, often twisting and exaggerating the real findings. Elena found herself constantly doing damage control, clarifying their research, and trying to educate the public about the difference between real science and pseudoscience. "It's the price of discovery," Sophia told her one day. "Every great breakthrough attracts both legitimate use and exploitation. Look at how antioxidants and probiotics became marketing buzzwords before they became real therapies." "I know," Elena sighed, "but it's so frustrating. We're doing real science here, and then someone sells frequency-structured water for €100 a bottle, claiming it cures cancer. Then we keep publishing. We keep educating. We keep doing rigorous science," Sophia replied firmly. "Eventually, the truth wins. It always does." That night, Elena walked through the quiet labs at the Institute. In one room, a soft tone of 432 hertz was still playing, filling the space with a gentle presence. She stopped and just listened, letting the frequency wash over her. She thought about the journey so far from a skeptical scientist to a pioneer on a new medical frontier. She thought about all the lives they had improved. She thought about the mysteries they still had to solve. And she thought about what could come next. If sound frequencies could heal individual diseases, could they also heal entire communities? Could the noise pollution in our cities be part of our mental health crisis? Could we design buildings and public spaces that naturally promote well-being through sound? These were the big questions for the Institute's next phase. But for now, in that quiet moment, Elena simply felt a deep sense of gratitude for the mystery, for the discovery, and for the incredible journey that was still only just beginning. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the future of science and medicine. See you next time. Imagine a world where you could upgrade your sleep. Not just sleep longer, but make every hour more powerful, more restorative, more healing. What if you could flip a switch and give your brain the deepest, most efficient rest it's ever had? This isn't science fiction. This is the story of Project Morpheus. Winter had cast its usual gray spell over Dublin, but inside a particular research institute, the atmosphere was electric. A team of scientists, led by the brilliant Dr. Elena Moreau, was about to launch their most ambitious study yet. Their goal? To unlock the secrets of deep sleep using sound frequencies. Leading the charge was Dr. Catherine Mary, a seasoned sleep medicine specialist. After 20 years in traditional hospitals, she was skeptical but intrigued. "Sleep is incredibly complex," she'd often say. "It's not just about duration. It's about architecture." She was talking about the different stages of sleep, especially the most crucial one, deep slow wave sleep. This is the stage where delta waves take over. These are super slow brain waves, oscillating between 0.5 and 4 times per second. During this phase, your brain consolidates memories, cleans out harmful toxins, and your body repairs itself. Dr. Murray explained the modern dilemma. Stress, screens, noise, everything conspires against deep sleep. The consequences are severe. Brain fog, a higher risk of Alzheimer's, metabolic issues, even accelerated aging. Elena posed the central question of their research. Can we use brainwave entrainment exposing people to delta frequencies while they sleep to increase not just the time, but the quality of their deep sleep? This was the heart of Project Morpheus. They enrolled 200 people. Some had battled insomnia for years, while others were healthy sleepers. For 3 nights, they slept in a state-of-the-art lab, hooked up to a battery of sensors, measuring everything from brain waves to eye movements and muscle tone. The participants were split into groups. Some listened to binaural beats tuned to delta frequencies, others to specially composed music. One group even had a unique combination of 174 hertz and delta waves, and a control group slept in silence. Crucially, no one, not even the researchers analyzing the data, knew who was in which group. The results from the very first night were stunning. Participants exposed to delta frequencies entered deep sleep faster and spent more time in that restorative state. Their delta waves were stronger, more powerful. But the real shock came the next morning. These individuals didn't just feel more rested, they performed significantly better on cognitive tests. Their memory was sharper, their reaction times quicker, and they showed better emotional regulation. Even their blood work showed a reduction in inflammatory markers. It was as if, Catherine marveled, they were giving their bodies a more efficient form of sleep. Not more hours, but higher quality hours. One story stood out. Margaret Chun, a 52-year-old executive who hadn't had a good night's sleep in 15 years. After just 1 week using a Delta entrainment device at home, her life changed. For the first time in over a decade, she said, "I'm waking up feeling genuinely refreshed. My mind is clear in a way I'd forgotten was possible." Her brain scans told an even more incredible story. The hippocampus, a part of the brain vital for memory that often shrinks with poor sleep, had actually grown. The levels of amyloid beta, a protein linked to Alzheimer's, had dropped significantly. The implications were massive. Elena realized they were on the verge of a breakthrough that could potentially prevent neurodegenerative diseases and revolutionize cognitive health for millions. But the science of sleep is never simple. Marcus, the team's data wizard, noticed a peculiar pattern. The entrainment works best, he pointed out, when we start with a different frequency. His theory was that starting with 174 Hz for the first 20 minutes helped the body relax physically, preparing the ground for the delta waves to work their magic on the brain. This discovery led them to create sleep sequences, a carefully orchestrated symphony of frequencies throughout the night. The ideal protocol looked something like this: 30 minutes of 174 Hz to drift off into deep physical relaxation. Then 2 to 3 hours of pure delta waves to lock in memory consolidation. During dream sleep, or REM, they introduced 396 Hz, a frequency they found helped with emotional processing. Finally, as morning approached, a gentle transition to 432 Hz for a smooth, groggy-free awakening. Participants using this sleep orchestration protocol reported incredible benefits. They felt more energized, their dreams were more vivid and meaningful, and that dreaded midday slump simply disappeared. Sarah, the team's psychologist, was fascinated by the dreams. People reported having processing dreams where they worked through emotional conflicts. One participant, a veteran named Thomas who suffered from PTSD, found his recurring nightmares transformed. "It was like I could process the trauma inside the dream instead of just reliving it," he shared. "I woke up feeling less tormented." His brain scans confirmed it. The connections in his brain associated with stress and fear were normalizing. Meanwhile, a biologist named Yuki was uncovering the why behind it all. He discovered that during delta sleep, the brain's waste removal system, known as the glymphatic system, goes into overdrive. "Think of the brain as a city," Yuki explained. "During the day, it's busy, creating metabolic waste. The glymphatic system is the nighttime sanitation crew. Delta sleep is when they get the green light to clean the streets." By enhancing delta sleep, they were giving this cleaning crew more time and better tools to clear out the toxic proteins linked to diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The team's quantum physicist, Dr. Patel, even proposed a mind-bending theory that the quiet environment of deep sleep allows for delicate quantum processes like DNA repair to happen more efficiently. It was a bold idea, but Elena encouraged this kind of thinking. It was how breakthroughs were made. Elena began writing a book, The Sleep Revolution, to share their findings with the world. She argued that modern life has disconnected us from the natural rhythms and frequencies our ancestors enjoyed, the sound of ocean waves, the rhythm of rain. By reintroducing these therapeutic frequencies, we could reclaim our natural restorative sleep. But with great power comes great responsibility. Reports surfaced of students misusing the technology, trying to hack their sleep by getting only a few hours, but maximizing them with frequencies. Elena had to make it clear, frequencies are not a substitute for adequate sleep. They enhance the quality of your 7 to 9 hours. They don't eliminate them. 2 years after her journey began, Elena stood in the quiet lab, watching the gentle, rhythmic pulse of delta waves on a monitor. They were just scratching the surface. Each discovery opened a door to a dozen new questions. The slow 3 Hz rhythm on the screen was a symbol of their work, a frequency so simple, yet so profound. It was a reminder of the elegant dance between biology, physics, and consciousness itself. The sleep revolution had begun, and it promised a future where we could all sleep deeper, think clearer, and live healthier lives. Thanks for watching. If you found this fascinating, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the science of sound and consciousness. What are your thoughts on upgrading your sleep? Let us know in the comments below.